Good afternoon and welcome to the Magic Software webinar on JD Edwards integration between Magic Software and Forza Consulting. I'm Tom Hutchins, Marketing Manager for Magic Software UK, Ireland and Nordics. I'm joined in the room here by Charlie Gray, my consultant, who's going to be giving you an introduction into why it is that Forza is such a valued partner with Magic and what we do together. We're currently just waiting for our friends from Forza to join us. There's actually two of them that we're expecting, and they're going to give a bit of an extra information on what they do, how they do it, and also, I understand, a bit of a demo. So it should be a very interesting session, and while we wait for them to join, I'm just going to take you through a bit of an introduction to Magic and our integration system. Let me just make this big. Okay, so I think you should be able to see the slide deck. So today, what we're going to be talking about first, overview of Magic and our Magic XPI integration platform product. Then we'll be handing over to our friends from Forza who are going to give you explanation of what they do and how they add value to our systems and how we add value to theirs. So Magic Software, we're not really a new company. We've been around 30 years. But we are experts in innovative technology, and by focusing on your business needs and how you can use technology to achieve them, we've been able to stay at the forefront of the evolution of technology throughout that time. We operate in over 50 countries, which we serve from 15 global offices, and we have over 2,500 global partners. The way the Magic system works is that we can connect into any type of database or enterprise application using approved connectors to those actual systems which are certified by the vendors themselves. And we run those into an application integration server layer through metadata, and that's where all the magic happens, as it were. And by taking the integration there, we abstract it from the technology, put it into a process, it's a real process orchestration tool, then push it out over the internet to any native clients and browsers. And native is very interesting because it allows us to do things like having some intelligent resizing and reformatting of application screens, for instance, such that if you use the same integration process, same application on a smartphone, a tablet and a desktop, it'll actually look different to fit the context that you're trying to use those devices in. For instance, with the smartphone, you're more likely to be running to a meeting. With the tablet, you might be sitting more comfortably, and with the PC, of course, you have your ergonomic chair and desk, and you can sit there for hours. So Magic XPI's integration platform is underpinned by what's termed an in-memory data grid. I don't know how familiar you are with grid computing. But essentially, what it does is abstract, like a cloud type system, used by companies like Google and Facebook for several years, and now the technology is becoming reliable and cheap and simple enough that we're able to offer it as part of a standard package. The advantages of using in-memory computing is that rather than having to have things constantly saved, a lot of the actual computing tasks are done within the memory, so they're running live. This means you get very fast batch process speeds for a start, but also increased resiliency. It's very scalable and very useful for running management tools because you get a real-time view of what's going on. A lot of the big data technology that's coming along also works very well with in-memory data technologies because it runs on real-time computing. And the final thing that's very exciting with the in-memory data grid is that you can guarantee message delivery. So in your traditional integration, you've got system A and system B. Message is going from system A to system B. If system B fails, then system A keeps the message because it knows that the message wasn't delivered. That's fine. But if system A fails during message delivery, you have no way of knowing whether system A was able to handle it at all, and it's quite possible that the message is actually lost. Further, with the guaranteed message delivery is that even if you do have problems where messages aren't able to be delivered for some time, because everything's held in the memory and the memory keeps sort of a timestamp of when things were sent, you're able to automatically piece back together a picture of what actually happened and when. So it's the resiliency isn't just greater uptime, but also much easier recovery from any errors. Magic XPI is accessed through the Studio, and the Studio is a drag and drop process piece where there's no coding involved. It's all done on business processes, and we have standard components that you lay out on a screen in the topology module to say this system, that system, they connect in this way. Then you can go into the process mapper and map certain data points from different systems to one another just with a drag and drop system. A few more words about the in-memory data grid. Going to be a bit quick because I've covered some of this already, but the distributed computing, as I explained, gives very high reliability. The elastic scalability works through having multiple nodes in the grid, so that if you have a sudden demand for a more computationally expensive task, the system's simply able to recruit more nodes into it, and you have a bigger system as you need it. As soon as you don't need them anymore, they can go away, and you have just the amount you need. Data availability is very high because it's held in the memory, and as I said, you have the guaranteed delivery. High performance, because things are done in memory, the transfer times are very fast. You're not as constrained by the capabilities of the processing and networks. And of course flexibility, because the system is able to intelligently form itself to the type of tasks you need. Now here's a look into the Studio, XPI Studio that I described a minute ago. You have the process mapper from the input through to the output, with then in the middle the integration piece that's saying what is actually going to happen. So by laying these out, this is the topology layer, you can really figure out where your data flow has to go and map everything around that. So the topology includes all the different servers and systems that are required. And we have standard approved connectors into each one. Now, talking about approved connectors and components, here's, I believe, actually just a subset of the ones that we have. We have connectors for an awful lot of systems, including ones that, some of them which are quite a legacy, things like old boxes that sat in the corner of the room no one ever wants to touch because it works and you don't want to risk doing anything to it. We're often able to actually, if there isn't a connector already existing, we can actually write one into it, and we have a very good track record of successful project delivery in those kind of situations. In terms of orchestrating workflows, it's a breakdown of the actual business process into what's happening with different systems and when. So you see from the example here, you're taking data from SAP and integrating it through to Salesforce. It's the different pieces and what has to go where. Here's the data mapper. So it's a visual, as I said, drag and drop, no coding required. And you just simply, although it looks complicated on this, each line on either side, it relates to a particular data piece, data source in each system, and so you simply say this one equals that one or goes to that one, and just drag and drops, fixed that way. When it comes to JD Edwards, I'm actually going to hand over to Charlie here because he's a bit more of an expert on this than I am. So let me just make him a presenter, And this one is you. Okay, Charlie, do you have access? Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hi. Apologies for having dropped out earlier. We do have a slight technical problem in that our colleagues from Forza are not in the same building as we are, indeed not in the same country. And I know that they can hear us, so they've already logged out and logged back in once, and yet they're not showing up here, which is going to give us a logistical difficulty in handing over to them as presenters.
They might be on the phone, but they're not.
No, I heard it actually when they logged out and logged back in. I heard it saying "Welcome to the webinar."
I can't get control.
Okay. Can you unmute the people so that they can at least?
No, I don't see them. They don't exist in the system.
Han and Joost, can I ask you to try logging out from the Citrix, from the GoToMeeting completely? You shouldn't need to actually telephone back in. You should be able to hear us over the computer because we're still not seeing you as attendees in the session. Thanks, guys.
Two people just left. No, that's because you become presenter.
Oh, okay. As Tom has covered the XPI overview side of things, I just wanted to say on the JD Edwards side of things, everybody, in terms of JD Edwards EnterpriseOne, so if you like the red stack side of things, we have support for business function, for web services, for the runtime environment and Java messaging system. And I think that the example that the Forza colleagues are going to discuss was in fact a JD Edwards World customer, so it was an IBM, a System I, if you like, an old AS400 type of configuration. And there we have a System I connector as well as the Magic Host library for System I and support for DB2 400. The important thing, and Tom may have mentioned that I had to nip out the room for a few seconds, but the important thing to bear in mind with things like the connectors and the adapters is that they're all Oracle approved, and that's significant from the point of view of anybody who has a maintenance agreement with Oracle. As long as the adapters that you're using are approved ones, then it won't affect your maintenance. Next slide. There we are. Just summing up the integration platform, then Magic XPI. It's a lot more than simply data mapping and data integration. It's really sort of whole business process integration between various diverse applications. The ones we're talking about today are JDE and Salesforce, I think, specifically, but and maybe an in-house developed application. But it could equally be SAP, Business One, R3. It could be Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Dynamics AX, etc., etc. You can read that list as well as I can read it out to you. And in terms of endpoints, so many endpoints. So, for example, you could make like a .NET object visible and usable within the integration platform, so that other applications can make use of kind of little things that that developers tend to make for themselves. So summing it back up then, just before I hand over to Forza, assuming we can, particular points about Magic XPI on the development side is that it's essentially a code-free development capability based on metadata technology, and so that you don't need to go into actual coding. The data mapping and the transformation, I don't know if Tom touched on that, as we map data from a source to a destination, we can also transform it. So, for example, if in JD Edwards you have a name field and in Salesforce you have a first name and a last name field, then you can transform them so that the parts of the name in this case, or the field, will go to the right parts in the corresponding application that you're actually integrating with. We mentioned the library of pre-built components. We're a certified and a gold solution partner for people like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, etc. I'm not going to read all of these out. Anybody who would like a copy of this is more than welcome, and contact me and I'll send it out to you. But it really is, it's about making your life in developing the integration of those business processes a lot simpler and enabling you to more quickly develop and deliver those integrations to your business.
Somebody is going to be letting this webinar count on.
I'm just getting an update on our Forza guys trying to get in, so hopefully we're getting to that. In terms of deployment, I heard Tom mention about the in-memory data grid. That gives you very, very high performance, so very low latency on a multitude of platforms, and because of that in-memory data capability, there is a built-in kind of failover and recovery capability. So if you have a catastrophic failure in one processor, it's not lost. It will be taken up elsewhere in that grid, and so guaranteed delivery and sending, etc. I'm not sure if you talked about the elastic scalability, but that's the ability not only to cope with increased demands, but also to make most economic use of the resources available when the demand maybe is less critical. That's really all I wanted to cover on that side of things. I do apologise for the hiccup we're having here, but hopefully we're getting it resolved as I'm waffling to you right now. Yes, I'm getting thumbs up. So
we're ready to
if you take control back. I don't know if Tom said right at the start, but it's probably quite useful and maybe even more pertinent as we go into the Forza part. If you have questions, then by all means type them. You should have a chat box on the screen in front of you. By all means type those questions in. If they're burning questions, then let us know that they're burning questions and we'll try to address them as we go through. But if not, then as I say, just type them in and we will cover them when we get to the end. I should be hearing either Han or Joost.
Yeah, okay. We're there. I'm Joost.
Yes, hello Joost. Hi, Charlie here.
Hello, Charlie. We could hear you all the time. I guess we were just not visible for you.
Yes, all's well that ends well. So we can hear you now and we can see your screen.
And just in time as well, so you're all right then. So let's start the Forza part of the presentation. We're going to talk about a business case, CRM, and business services. First, I want to talk a little bit about Forza, who we are. Talk about our relation with Magic and Magic XPI in particular. And then we'll go and have a look at one of the integrations we created for a customer called Datacolor. It's a JD Edwards integration with Salesforce CRM. And we'll elaborate on that and show you the insights. And on the way also show you the power of the XPI business services. So we'll show you how this works real life. Forza is a JD Edwards Consulting company. We're based in the Netherlands. We do business mainly in the Benelux, but also in the UK and in the Nordic countries. We are Oracle Gold partner, JD Edwards specialized in the areas of distribution, manufacturing, CNC and finance. And our size is about 25 consultants with a lot of experience in JD Edwards. And our offering, well, is pretty much everything related to JD Edwards, and with JD Edwards also integration to other systems, and that is what we do with Magic XPI. We've been a Magic partner for about 5 years now, and have done many integrations of all types. We're just going to show you one of those now. Integrating JD Edwards to other systems is really one of our main areas of expertise. We really have a good position in it, and we've been, the past few years, we've been working with Magic to improve the JD Edwards connector, which is a very powerful tooling. And within the JD Edwards community, we see that XPI with this JD Edwards connection is really a strong proposition, especially for the medium-sized businesses. JD Edwards is strong in. Yeah. And just to elaborate a little bit on that, what's the value to the customer, and specifically the JD Edwards customer base? The main point is its simplicity. And you already saw a little bit about this, but the strong points being no scripting, the drag and drop facility, there's quite simple transformations and functions you can make, and of course all the components that are available within XPI, specifically the JD Edwards connector. You just will be using with XPI one platform, one skill set, which makes it powerful. And well, in our experience, a very strong point is the fact that a JD Edwards developer can pick up making XPI integrations in a relatively short time. So you don't have need development capacity from different persons. You can have a all-in-one developer in that respect. Furthermore, it's cost-effective because it's simple and you don't have many resources to bring to your development. You can develop in short times, cost-effective, and also in the longer run, the TCO business cost is relatively low. Okay, so on the field of CRM integrations, we've done different integrations to a couple of the main applications. For instance, Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We've made integrations, of course, to Oracle On Demand, Siebel, and Salesforce.com. So also on SaaS, cloud-based solutions. Okay, what we're going to have a look at is an integrations between JD Edwards and Salesforce. Datacolor, the company we're going to have a look at, works with Salesforce for their parts business and all around the world. And they will get quotes and orders from Salesforce into JD Edwards. But in order to create this integration, we had to work with our partner, of course, bringing in all the Salesforce knowledge. In this case, it was Adapti, a Belgian company. And the areas we covered within this integration were accounts and contacts. This information is exchanged between the two systems. The items and prices that are in JD Edwards, and different synchronizations on the field of sales orders. And I want to have a closer look at that. Just to explain what happens where and where we made the integrations. So you have accounts and contacts within Salesforce, and based on this account and contacts within Salesforce, opportunities are registered. No particular need for JD Edwards to come in there, but for opportunities, we need more data. We need item data and price data, and this data is maintained with the Datacolor within JD Edwards EnterpriseOne. So we needed to feed Salesforce with this information on the right moment, with the right timing. Within Salesforce, after opportunities have been created, a lot of them hopefully get into orders, and after that JD Edwards comes into play, because the orders need to be registered in JD Edwards. To be able to do that, we need the relevant addresses, accounts in JD Edwards. So there's an integration to create address book records on the fly when needed in JD Edwards. And only after that we can create the orders within JD Edwards coming from Salesforce. But addresses and who's who information can get updated in JD Edwards as well, creating the necessity for an integration between the accounts and contacts within Salesforce and the address book records. Another integration is the status of the order. We need to feed Salesforce with the current status of JD Edwards order, meaning is it just created, is it confirmed, has it been picked, and has it been invoiced. So there's a synchronization and integration on that field as well. And this is what I was talking about, that the integration needed to exchange information on the address book records between the two systems. Well, let me go a little bit deeper into the integrations I just mentioned. First, there's the address book who integration. This is real time. One moment it happens is when JD Edwards orders need to be created. There's also a mechanism to push accounts into JD Edwards from Salesforce with a button when needed. And when addresses change within JD Edwards, they get pushed. Those changes get pushed into Salesforce as well. Then we have the items, and the items information comes from JD Edwards. JD Edwards is the master for the product data, and when an item or product character changes, it's pushed real time to Salesforce.com. There's also a mechanism to feed Salesforce with item-related data on demand. And that happens, for instance, when quantity available is needed within Salesforce. When a sales representative wants to know the stock status, he can inquire on it within Salesforce, but there's a web service getting this information from JD Edwards. Then there's the prices also needed for the opportunities, and this is a scheduled process. So this is more batch. This is a batch process, and it pushes all base prices and changes on base prices from JD Edwards to Salesforce.com. A large area of integration within the CRM JD Edwards integration is the sales orders, and they are created with a batch within JD Edwards after they have been created in Salesforce. So a batch program creates the orders in JD Edwards. But then afterwards, as statuses change of this order, there's a real-time interface back to Salesforce to update the status of the orders in Salesforce at 4 different stages. Well, this concludes the overview of what we made at the Datacolor. And now we're going to show you how one of those processes has been created first graphically in a flow, and then we will show you within XPI. So I now give a word to Hans Sumantri, who's going to tell you all about that.
Hello, my name is Hans Sumantri. I'm a developer at Forza Consulting, and I will be showing you one of the integrations in a demo. I said earlier, one of the integrations is the accounts and contacts interface between Salesforce and JD Edwards. The slide you are seeing right now is the interface going from JD Edwards to Salesforce. This interface is being triggered by a real-time event, what we call a real-time event in JD Edwards. That's standard interoperability. So basically what happens is when an address information changes in JDE, a message is being created and it's being posted on a queue which will be picked up by XPI. So what you see in here graphically is, and this is the message, this is the message that's being created. It's being sent to the JMS queue where XPI picks it up. It checks whether it can find the data in Salesforce. If it can find it, it will process all contact information. Afterwards, it will process the primary contact information, and at the last stage is it will process the account information. I'm going to switch over now to Salesforce. This is Salesforce, where you can see, for example, this account, test revision 1. What you can see in here is all the data attached to this account. You see address information. Also notice in here we have the JD Edwards address number, which is unique in JD Edwards, and we need this so that we can make the link between Salesforce and JD Edwards. So what we have in, what you see now on your screen is a JD Edwards screen. This is the address book in JD Edwards. You can see the same account, test revisions 1. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the address over here, and by changing this and clicking OK, this will trigger the interface, and it will push the data that's been changed in JDE back to Salesforce. So if I change this, for example, so I changed this. I haven't pushed on the button yet, but I'll just show it to you quickly. It's the same test account, but on the Salesforce side, and you can see in here that it's still the old data. So I clicked on OK. And as you can see, the data has been changed from, Salesforce has received the data, and it has changed accordingly to what's being changed in JD Edwards. I'll show you the monitor. This is what you see over here in your screen is the XPI monitor. So in here, all transactions, what happened in XPI, what happens in XPI gets registered over here. So you can see in here the flow has been started, and it has been executing several steps in order to push the data to Salesforce. How this looks in the studio. So we were talking about the JD Edwards to Salesforce integration. What you can see over here, this is the trigger area. So as I said before, we are using JMS queuing. So this is the trigger. As soon as an XML message gets posted on the queue, this interface will start. As said before, it will read the message, retrieves the necessary account ID in Salesforce using the standard Salesforce connector, and update all the necessary data. As you can see over here, update the primary contact and update the account at the end. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask, because maybe it's going a bit fast, and it's also a bit technical. But that's the side on the integration from JD Edwards to Salesforce. As said before, it's a bidirectional interface, so that means we also have the opposite direction, which is from Salesforce to JD Edwards. As you can see over here in the slide, this is being triggered by a web service. So that's an XPI web service, which is being called in Salesforce in order to push the data from Salesforce to JD Edwards. So as you can see, that's the trigger, our web service. Once it's being triggered, it will check whether it's concerning contact information or account information, and it will retrieve the necessary data from Salesforce. Once once XPI has gathered all the necessary data, it will push it to JD Edwards using the JD Edwards business function. And when the function has finished, it will update accounts and contacts in Salesforce if necessary. For example, for new contacts or new accounts which don't exist yet in JD Edwards, these will get information back from JD, because the address number, which is unique in JD Edwards, is also being created by JD Edwards, will be pushed back to Salesforce. That's what this last thing does for new accounts, for example. Back to the live screens then. As said before, we can push data from Salesforce to JD Edwards, so that's what we are going to do now. So I'm going to edit the same test account. Change it back to the original state. And hit save. What you can see over here now is also, you can see here that the data is out of sync, which means that the data is different on the Salesforce side and the JD Edwards side. I'm going to show it to you. So still the same test account, but on the JDE side. And you can see that it's still the old data. As soon as I hit send to JDE, the interface will kick off again, because behind this button there's the web service call to XPI. And if it's you can see here this one. This is meaning that the trigger started, change accounts and contacts started. So if we cancel out in here, we'll find and you can see the data has been changed. If everything went correctly, also this flag should be resetted again to in sync. So this means that the data are now the data on in Salesforce and JDE are now in sync, and everything is back to normal again. In the studio, XPI Studio, This is the interface which does the direction from Salesforce to JD. As you can see over here, the trigger area again, the yellow part is the trigger area. This is a web service, so as soon as the web service is being called, this interface will kick off. It will gather the necessary intel, contact or account information. Once the information has been retrieved, it will trigger a JD Edwards business function, which pushes all the data back into JD Edwards. Simply by mapping, you can see over here, this is the structure of the JD Edwards business function, and all the data is being mapped accordingly. So, coming back to the presentation, one of the advantages of using web services in XPI is, as said before, there's no JavaScripting involved. If you're using web services, standard web services in JD Edwards, you have to create them using JDeveloper, which means you have to program in Java. By using XPI, you don't need to any programming. It's just configuration and mapping. Also, the standard JD Edwards connector gives you access to all the business functions available in JD, standard ones and custom ones. It's also easy to deploy a web service in XPI, and it's one of the standard components of XPI which are available. Just to show you how easy it is, like I said, it's just configuring and mapping. You have a resource where you can create a web services server if you're going to expose web services. Just you can create a resource. Once that's being done, you just create the service, which is based on the resource, and you define the different operations you want under that web service. So you just define an operation name, and you tell what the input parameter, the input structure is, the output structure based on an XML document. Once that's being done, you can simply select the component. Let me try to find it in here, web service. Drag it to the trigger area, and select your web service and start mapping. So as you can see, it's really easy. It doesn't take a lot of time to create the framework where you can already call the web service. So I don't know if there are any questions. Okay, so that's what's basically what we did, and one of the examples we created at Datacolor. I don't know, Charlie, you want to take over from here, or?
Thank you, Han and Just. That's really all we wanted to cover. I think, Tom, did you say you'd got a couple of questions had started coming in? If anybody's got any questions about what you've seen, please go ahead and use your the chat facility in GoToMeeting and send them up. I think Tom said he'd got one or two through.
Yeah, I do have a few through, Charlie. So firstly, one you might want to say a few words about. Question is, do you support Microsoft Exchange? Now, I know the short answer is yes, but Charlie, do you want to expand on that?
The short answer is yes to that, and it's a relatively, that's really about all there is to say, to be honest with you, except that not only Microsoft Exchange, but if you happen to be like a Lotus Notes user, which I think is a bit more likely especially in an IBM System I environment. We've got support for Exchange, Lotus Notes, Google Mail, etc., etc. So yeah, it's just not something that I have to worry about.
Okay, and one here that I think my colleagues from Forza might want to expand on. Is it possible to expose an existing .NET app to, for instance, a JDE address book master business function?
Yeah. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, via a web service. There's a if I'm not wrong, there's a standard .NET connector also.
Yes, there is.
API, so you can use that connector and interface with JD Edwards.
Great, thank you. Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, I've got one here as well that says we're looking to develop some mobile apps. Is it possible to use XPI to get JDE data to the users?
Yes. That's possible.
You beat me to it. Yeah, I was just about to say, short answer, yes.
Sorry.
No, that's great.
No, it's possible because again, with using XPI as the middleware between XPA and JD Edwards, it's possible to send data back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually a very good question and a very pertinent one. And I know that we're talking here today about integration, but it's useful that somebody mentioned mobile, because what we're finding with companies that we're talking to is that while mobile is the buzzword, if you like, at the moment, it's very quickly realized by most companies who start looking at it seriously that it will require some integration of back-end processes. So thank you, whoever asked that question. Any others, Tom?
Okay, just one last one I've got here. How would we go about getting developers trained in using this system? Now, my understanding of this is that both Forza and Magic are able to train developers. Charlie, do you think that's correct?
Well, certainly Magic does. Used or Orhan, is that something that you guys do with your clients in the countries that you operate in?
Yeah, we've been doing that in the past. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That's all the questions that I have here on the questions forum. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Charlie and Joost and Han as well. It's been very interesting having you here.
Okay. Tom, can I just mention to anyone who's still listening? I know that we're not quite out of time. This session has been recorded, so if you would like, to be able to have any of your colleagues take a look at it, when the time works better for them, do get in touch with us, and we'll point you at a link once we put it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, thank you very much for joining. Hope to see you all again, and hope you have a great end of your day.
Right. Thanks everybody for your time. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
You close it down your end here.
Yeah.